Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and another Flutter tutorial. In this video, which is the second video in the playlist for implementing the Suite Shop application design, I intended to continue implementing this application and implement new pages. In the first video of this playlist, I implemented the splash screen, home screen, and category section for this project according to the Figma design, which you can see in the video. If you haven't watched the first video and if you intended to implement the project, you can find the first video in the playlist section or via the link I provided in the description. Watch it first and then watch this video. I will also place the link to the Figma design in the description so you can use the design and export the necessary images and assets. And also I've put the project up to this point on GitHub and will add the GitHub link so you can use it if needed. Alright then, as you can see in the video, in this part I intended to implement the product details screen and the orders screen. So let's go ahead and implement the design of the screens I talked about together. Let's start by implementing the product details screen together. As you can see, the main image for this page is in the photos section in Figma. I had previously exported this image and added it to the project. You can also get this image from this section. To create this page in the project, I'll create a new file in the screen section. I import the material package and create a stateful class with the same name as the file. And then I call the app scaffold widget. As you can see, this widget is similar to Flutter's built-in scaffold widget, which has a safe area inside it and also limits the screen width on larger screens. You can use the standard scaffold widget instead if you prefer. I go back to the previous class and call the project's colors and typography. Now I disable the top and bottom safe area parameters and set the default page padding to 0. Now I place a size box widget, set its height equal to the total screen height. And then inside it, I add a stack widget. And now I call the main product image. I set its width equal to the full screen width and set its fit parameter to box fit dot fit width so it fits the screen width. Now I go to the product list class, which displays the list of products on the home screen. I call an inkwell widget so I can navigate from this screen to the product details screen. As you can see, I call the app push method. This method uses Flutter's navigator method internally. You can use this method or other methods like GoRouter for navigating to other pages. I set border radius and I reload the project and go to the home page which is created. Very well. Now let's implement the product title and rating section. Inside the stack widget, I place a positioned widget and set its bottom to 0 so it sticks to the bottom of the screen. And I place another stack inside it so I can implement the design where the white section overlaps the image. Now I place a container widget, set its height to 40% of the screen height, adjust its margin, and then I set its width as you can see in the video. Limit the screen width on larger devices. And then I gave the container a decoration. Now I place a single child scroll view widget and adjust its padding. And now I add a column widget and set its cross-axis alignment to start. And inside it, I place a row widget and set its main axis alignment to space between. Main axis alignment is equal to main axis alignment dot space between. And inside it, I place a title for the product name. I copy the name and now I style it and also set its font size. And now I call the widget I had previously built for rating and pass the rating to it according to the Figma design. I reload the project so you can see the output up to this point. Alright, now let's implement the description section. In this section, I need to use a package called readmore, which using this package will limit the display of the description text if it exceeds a few lines. So I add this package to the pubspec YAML file and run the flutter pubget command. Now I go to the projects widgets section, add a new file and create a new widget for the readmore package. Now I go back to the previous class, add some spacing, and then import and use the widget I just created. I go to the sample data file and add a variable for the description text in this file. The text inside this variable is the same as the text in the Figma design. Now I go back to the previous class, use this variable and reload the project so you can see the result. Now let's implement the product seller section. First, I add the spacing again. And then I add a divider widget and adjust its height. And now I add the text for the seller title and style it. Now I add a list style widget, set its content padding to 0, and in its leading parameter, I place a size box widget and adjust its width and height. Inside this widget, I need to display the user's profile image. So I create a new file for the user profile image. And now, as you can see in the video, inside this file, I add a class that takes the image path and displays the user's image according to the Figma design, and also has parameters for setting the profile image width, height, and border. And now I go back to the previous class called the widget we built together, use it, and pass it the path of a profile image which I exported from the Figma design and added to the project. Very well. Now I use the title and subtitle parameters of the list style to show the user's name and the field they are active in with the spacing and style you see in the video. I reload the project and you can see the result. Very well. Now let's implement the contact seller button. For this, I had already created a widget which I will now call and pass to the trailing parameter of the list style widget. I also call the contact icon which I had previously exported and added to the project. And now I perform the necessary color setting and styling. Alright. I place a divider widget again and adjust its height. And I add spacing again. And then, as you can see in the design, I add a title for the selected weight. And finally, I reload the project again. Very well. Now let's implement the product weight selection section. First, in the sample data section, I had a list of weights. Then on the product screen, I create a variable for the selected weight and set it equal to item number 5 from the weights list. Now I place a wrap widget, set the spacing between its items, and then start implementing its children section by iterating through the list of weights. And now I create a variable for the selected weight. And for now, I temporarily return a sizebox.shrink widget. Very well. Now, as you see in Figma, I need to implement a ChoiceChip widget and use it to show the product weights. So I create a new file. And inside this file, I place a stateless class. And inside this class, I use the ChoiceChip widget from the material package and perform the necessary styling according to the design. Now I go back to the previous class, call the widget we built, set its required parameter, and use it. And finally, I implement the unselected method for this widget. I fix the typo. Reload the project and you can see the result. Very well. Now let's implement the product price section and the add to cart button. Because the upper part of this section needs to be underneath the white section, I will implement this section about the previous widgets. Inside the stack widget, I place a positioned widget and set its bottom parameter to 0, so it sticks to the bottom of the screen. Inside it, I add a container with a height of 140 and set its color to primary color. Now I place a center widget and inside it, I add a padding using the padding widget. And now I place a size box, and as you can see in the video, I limit the width of this section on larger devices. And then inside it, I place a row widget, and then I add a widget to display the product price with the required styling according to the Figma design. And now I place another size box, and inside it I create a button for adding to the cart with the styling according to the design. I reload the project, and as you can see, there are some issues, so I fixed them. Finally, I reload the project again, and you can see the final result. Alright, now let's implement the top bar actions. As you can see on the home screen, I've created widgets similar to what we need here, and I only need to add the ability to change the color to this widget. So as you can see in the video, I add a color variable and use this variable in the sections where I need it. Very well. Now I need to implement a custom app bar that has no background color. So I create a new file. Inside this file, first I import the material package and create a stateless class with the same name of the file. And now I add two variables for setting the app bar height. And now I place a size box widget and set its height equal to the height variable I created. Then inside it, I call an app bar widget. I set the background color of this widget to transparent. And now in the leading parameter, I call a padding widget and add horizontal padding. And then inside this widget, I call the widget we implemented for icon button and set its required parameters. And now I implement the onPressed method. And inside this method, I called the appPop method. This method uses Flutter's navigator.pop method internally. And then in the actions section, I add the icon button widget for adding the product to favorites. And finally, I set the leading with parameter. Now I go back to the product details screen and call the widget we implemented and use it. I reload the project and you can see the result. Now let's implement the orders section together. In the tabs section, I go to the orders tab file and start implementing this file. First, I change the stateless class inside this file to stateful. And now use them with keyword and add a mixin called single ticker provider state mixin to the class. And then I create a tab controller variable and the required setup, initialize this variable and dispose of it in the dispose method. Now I call an app scaffold widget and in its app bar parameter I call a general app bar widget that I had built before and set its title according to the Figma design. This widget by default has a back button, which I don't need this section. So I should be able to enable or disable its display. Also, I need to be able to pass another widget to the bottom part of this widget so I can implement the tab section and I also need to be able to set its height. So according to the explanation I gave, I created the required variables and as you can see in the video, I use these variables in the required sections. Now I go back to the previous class, disable the display of the back button and pass it the required height according to the design. And now in the bottom section, I add a tab bar widget. Pass it the controller variable I created and perform the required styling for it. Alright, I reload the project and you can see the result up to this point. Very well, now let's implement the body of the page. In the body section, I place a tab bar view widget and also pass the controller variable I created to this widget. Now in the widget section, I create a new file for the orders list and start implementing this file. After importing the material package and creating a stateless class with the same name as the file, I create an enum to differentiate between order types and then use it. Now let's implement the orders list. I start by calling the colors, and then I use a list view.builder to create the list of orders. As you can see, I use the same image I had previously added for the homepage for this section as well. Now inside the padding widget, I place a row widget, adjust the spacing between its items, set its cross-axis alignment to start, and then inside it, I display the products image according to the design. And now I call an expanded widget, and inside it I place a column widget. I adjust its cross-axis alignment, and then inside this widget I show the product name. As you can see in the video, if the product name is more than 2 lines, the extra part is removed. And now I place a row widget, adjust its axis parameters, and inside it I also show the product's quantity and price. And finally, using a button, I implement the required actions for orders of different types. And now I go back to the previous class, call the widget we just built, use it and specify the order types. I reload the project and you can see the final result of this page as well. Thank you for watching, and if this video was helpful to you, please subscribe to my channel, like and share the video, and hit the bell icon to get notifications for future videos. I will see you again in the next video.